And that's my real signature. That's what you use on like bank documents? Yeah. And be forged.
Okay, everybody, we need to sign in, sign in. This is not like
Well, I mean, is there one called the store open? Because
my last name.
can you be civic?
Well, got a bigger problem right now.
Okay.
I am missing cables. Yeah.
Okay, do you have a mic?
Hey, Ann, can you hear me all right? All right. Hey, Ann, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? All right. All right. Let's see. Yeah, our speakers are not working. I apparently broke the rec center speakers. That has been entertaining, to say the least. Yeah, let's give that a shot. Yeah, the Bluetooth one. All right, stand by. Okay, how does that work? Can I get Ann? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Okay. Oh, she did? Oh, okay, cool. All right, and okay, can somebody at home, Ann, can you unmute and then let's see if we can hear you? Or maybe Terry, can I hear you?
Can you hear me okay?
All right.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Not great, but we can hear you. You're coming out of a TV. The best, but we're working on it. No.
Wireless or not?
Yeah, no, correct, do not.
It's a 500, so an 850 will pull it.
Probably, yeah. We'll just probably do this old school. We'll just have to do it old school.
Yeah.
Oh, for second person.
Yes. It
All right, sweet.
So far. Actually. Switch your mic over.
Oh, first one.
Yeah, that way they can actually stand up there. Plug that one.
The processor. All right. Nope, that did not work. But it's not plugged in on the other end, is it?
Nope, it's not.
Much little touch.
Why is everything on 7?
There you go. Oh, there we go. All right. There we go.
Good?
All right. Murphy's Law. That's just how it goes. Everything immediately. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. All right. Do we have a quorum by chance? Got a pretty good turnout here at the rec center. I'm getting a head nod. I'm getting a head nod. All right, that's good news. Like to hear that. All right, everybody. What we got here? We got 7:17. Okay. Let me make sure we are live on Facebook for anybody join this last minute. Oh no, that's not good. Why are you giving me an error? Again. I just jinxed myself by saying everything will go wrong and then we're looking into Facebook again. All right. I know what. I am doing this from the wrong computer. That's why.
I didn't do that.
Cool. That's going great. We're going great over here. Go ahead and try to steal this. It won't work. Okay, no, we're not doing this. This isn't up, right? Oh.
Someone who's taller than me able to what's going on here? Tall people Oh, maybe that works. Does that look secure? Okay, see, you just have to stand up and then help me. Okay, I'm not. Keep your balance.
All right, we're gonna head and get going here. Looks like I'm not gonna be able to get Facebook going tonight, but I can post it later on because I am recording, so I'll be able to post on Facebook later. Got a good crowd here in person. Thanks for everyone coming out. Got about 13 attendees and 8 panelists on Zoom as well, which is great to see. So a quorum is present, and I will call this meeting to order of the Madisonville Community Council. If you don't mind, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. And now, will you please join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. All right. Turn it over to our chair of our communications committee, Amanda, who is she can go over the rules for how this hybrid meeting is going to work.
Good evening, guys. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Your face was a little like I was screaming. Is not on tonight. The camera decided to stop working this evening, so you just have to look at my black screen. I apologize. Anyway, if you're joining us via Zoom, welcome, and please use, if you've got questions or would like to comment, please use the Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen. You can drop questions in there and we can queue them up. It works a lot better than the chat. And if your question's not really relevant to the current topic at hand, don't worry, we'll get there. There's always time at the end of the meeting for kind of open public comments. So might leave some stuff out there if it's not pertinent to what we're talking about right now, but we will let everyone have a chance to speak, so don't worry. If you would prefer to speak your question or comment, and you're on Zoom, feel free to raise your hand. There's a little button down near where the Q&A feature is. You can click on that. I think there's a bunch of people here tonight that can help monitor that, and we'll get you guys queued up to speak or ask your question, but encourage you to use that feature as well. And then for those on Facebook, I believe we are streaming tonight. Just note any questions or comments you leave out there on the Facebook Live. There's a bit of delay between the meeting live stream and when it's out there on Facebook. So if there are questions out there, we'll try to get to you, but it might take us a little bit longer. So please bear with us out there. I think that is everything. Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Amanda. All right, so the treasurer's report was not ready on time, but we'll have an update at the next meeting scheduled in September. Meeting minutes are on the table for people in person and for anyone online. The link for today's meeting documents was posted in the chat, so you can that. And if there are no objections, we'll go ahead and file that and move on to public administration announcements. So first up would be the fire department. The Lieutenant Gregory was there. And Westwood's
Hello?
from the police department. You can go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
How's everybody doing?
Yes, I'll be very quick. We just got a run. We had a total of 175 runs. 155 of those were EMS, 8 were fire runs, and 10 were special incidents. That's like wires down. We just wanted to to advise everyone to monitor your drills, also practice food safety, and also be very aware of children playing in the streets, and also children in terms of cars. The degrees is typically 48 degrees higher in an automobile during a regular summer day. So just if you see something, say something, and thank you guys for all that you all do, the council and all the citizens of Madisonville. Thank you so much.
Any questions for the fire department? We'll move over to Officer Brown, neighborhood liaison.
Carrie, sorry, quickly, can you double check the live stream's going?
It's not.
Okay, it's not.
Yeah, sorry. Officer Brown, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, how you doing? So for last 20 rolling days from June 21st to September 18th, we had 2 robberies, 2 aggravated assaults, 10 personal or other thefts, and 3 auto thefts. I don't know. I think the thing, I mean, all of it's alarming and none of it's acceptable. But I really think, I always say this, we have to be more conscious about leaving our keys in our autos. We have to be more conscious of just taking care of our personal belongings and understanding our surroundings and being aware of our surroundings. I will say that on one of the robberies, or one of the felonious assaults, the guy was actually shot twice in the leg. And he alleges that he didn't know the people who actually did this. So I don't know. I guess on a brighter note, the first Tuesday in August is our National Night Out. And it's from 5:30 to 8 o'clock. This has always been a huge event for us, for the police departments all across the country. I can say that District 2 has had the best NL, the National Night Out. Year before last, well, actually a couple years prior to COVID, the year before, we had roughly 8,000 people that showed up. It'll be at Owl's Nest Park. We're encouraging that everyone here at the meeting spread the word. It's a free event. There'll be food and entertainment there. There'll be different entities of the city. There'll be different entities of just different businesses throughout the city. So we encourage everyone to come out. Prayerfully, we'll have a great day of weather. That's it for me.
We got a question here for you in person, Officer Brown.
Hey, Angela, how are you?
There you go, you're good.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear her? Can we maybe get you in a remote mic here so we can hear you better?
Hi, Officer Brown, how you doing? Angela Pearson.
How you doing?
Last week there was a shooting.
I'm sorry?
Last week I was working in my yard and there was police walking up and down Chandler Street. And I asked what was going on. They said someone got shot up on Kenwood and Chandler. And the guy had to go rush to the hospital. I guess he took himself to the hospital. But my thing is, what was the results? Did they find out was he shot by somebody? Or somebody he knew? So
Okay, so
it happened last week. It happened last week.
okay, so your mic is actually going in and out, but this is what I'll say. I can look into that to find out. But anytime you have a question in reference to any run that comes out, it's actually public information. And so if the number to call is like 765-1212, and they don't hide any information. The way the run started and the way it was cleared out, it's actually public information. So when you call that number, they'll actually read the beginning to the end for you. But I can look into it for you. And if you could, do you know what date it was? It came out last week.
It came out, I was in my yard last week and they walking up and down Chandler, looking for a gunshot, looking for anybody that's shooting a bullet went into their windows. And that's what they was doing last week when I was working in my yard. And he said someone got shot from Kenwood and Chandler. You're the sheriff on one end, you're the police on another end.
I'm unaware of that, but here's what I will do, because I could have been off that day. But what I will do is I'll put a call in to find out in reference to what you just said, and I'll give you a call because we have to talk anyway.
Yeah, we gotta talk about the block party thing.
We got one more question for you, Officer Brown. Mr. Capisser here in person.
All I need you to do is repeat the statement of the alphabet, yes.
Oh, the night out, national night out.
Yes.
Yeah, what was Officer Brown, what was the date for that again? Was it this
It's
national night?
National Night Out is August the 2nd. It's the first Tuesday of August. And it'll be from 5:30 in the evening to 8 o'clock in the evening. And it's at Owl's Nest Park right in the O'Brienville area. Oakley, O'Brienville there.
That's good. Any other last minute questions? See no, we'll move to Brian Cervisi. Thank you, Officer Brown. Service Area Coordinator here at the Recreation Commission.
All right, so we just completed the soccer field with FC Cincinnati outside. It's a mini pitch. It's field turf. It's open to the public. Anybody can come use it whenever. So that's really nice. It's $150,000. So thank them if you ever get the opportunity. We are working on a few other improvements outside. There are some things that I'll be able to announce next meeting. One and two other big things for the community that I think you guys are really like. Very expensive improvements similar to the soccer field. The other thing that I will announce next month, because, well, the pattern right now is the nature playscape at Bramble. We're ready to go. We're just waiting on other people to make it viable for it to happen, but that'll happen very soon.
Basketball court for the soccer team area? No.
No, actually, one of the things.
He's in town 5 times. Never got a response. Citizens helping with the soccer. Able to do anything this year. Well,
It's not fiscal. It's we don't have enough. We can't hire like.
I understand it. My city, they would pay $11 an hour. Why can't we, they said the corporate citizens are able to sponsor? Why can't we reach out to us? And have them set up fund for people to get, for the kids to be. And I'm not getting on you, partner.
No. I just want to tell.
We have a pool out here and we're working up.
Yeah.
This is almost a sin, and it's global warming climate we got. They have a pool open over here. So I guess what I would say is this, as a community, a committee of people that's going to reach out to the corporate community here, so we don't go through this crisis next.
So first off, we pay all lifeguards $11.53. $750 signing bonus with a $2,000 bonus at the end of the summer to complete the summer. So we did that. We tried that. It's about getting kids and people. The problem is COVID happened, and for 2 years, people weren't swimming. These kids that normally would swim and then go up through the ranks swimming, becoming good swimmers, they would become lifeguards, right? If you look nationwide, right now, public pools are down 58%. So it's not a Cincinnati thing, it's not a Massillville thing, it's a global thing. And it's because of COVID. It's gonna take years for pools to open back up and get to the point where we were 4 years.
I called the mayor's office and I said, why don't next Monday rotate the pool?
I asked the same question.
Why is it understandable our pool's not as big as open pool? It is open about what it is.
Yeah.
But another question I got on the bandwagon here. Have they ever thought about maybe getting a bus service where kids that can show up here, that can be maybe during the day, taken over to Oakley, come out working in the pool?
That would be a sort of question, not a.
No. Don't they have an access bus or something that they use? I mean, we gotta think outside the box.
Yeah, I agree, and we're trying all kinds of different things. We want 23 pools, and we just opened our ninth pool. You know, I mean, so me personally, I grew up as a swimmer.
Me too.
And I love swimming. They had a pool. I would much rather do that.
We were told we were the last one outside of the 8th was open originally. Well, we want to drop down to number 10.
Yeah,
Another pool.
we're like 10 or 11. And the reason we're 10 or 11 is because Pleasant Ridge and Oakley are within 2 miles. So you have other pools that are farther away. Like the 2 pools that have most recently open pools are in Salem Park, right? So they're on the outskirts of the city. There's nothing close by. The reason it's harder for people to travel. So that's the reason why those pools work. And what I was told is, you know, and it all depends on this amount of lifeguards. So if you want the pool to open, get as many. Get them in, we'll certify them, we'll give them a job and we'll open pools.
I asked the mayor or the vice king, see, we get volunteers, maybe to do something or whatever. I mean, that's just an idea, but I'll let y'all come in. You go ahead. I'm upset about it because I didn't even have a filter. That's why I learned to swim. We sat on it when they put the chlorine in.
Yes, yeah.
Go ahead.
When you say plan to create. No,
No,
why they, those two communities, is it because of our neighborhood?
No, there's nothing to do with it. The first year that COVID. But
I don't hear about the code because it's still in.
answer your question. Okay, I'll answer. It has nothing to do with that. The reason Pleasant Ridge and Oakley open is because they're much newer facilities and their attendance when we were open was a lot higher. If we do open and you want to make sure that our pool stays open, you have to visit. I think like numbers matter. The most important thing is that we serve the most amount of people in the city. When we're looking globally through the city at all the different pools, they're going to go to the pools that we're utilizing most frequently. How many times do you go? I'm not just asking you, I'm asking everyone. So if you want the pool open, when it does get open, I only see you guys when you're at a meeting. Why aren't you here at the rec center doing stuff? We try to office, I see you. But other than you, I mean, like very few people that come to these meetings center and use it for different activity stuff. I ask all the time, what would you like to see? Get you in. She comes all the time for different stuff. You know, we want you here, we want you open. Numbers drive everything. It doesn't matter what community you're in. If your numbers are high, you're going to get the attention. You're going to get special things. We're starting to get all the nice stuff around because people stuff from medicine. We're getting this stuff. We're getting corporate sponsors and different people that are wanting to help us out. But we have to have people that come in and use it.
So there's no exciting program that was up here. They're not very attentive.
So I'm gonna just real quick, because we thank you. And I kindly ask, because we do have agenda and we have speakers here, so we have to move this along. So I would just ask if there are questions or concerns about the pools, you can just see Brian separately, so we can keep the meeting going. Thank you.
We all have a right to speak.
We do, we have speakers, we have
All right, so
Don't shrug me, don't shrug.
we're
You
gonna,
don't want to say that. Vice President.
we're gonna move on because these are bigger issues than even
Yes,
just
I do.
the neighborhood.
I still have a wife.
You do. We have a very long night ahead of us.
Well, what can I say? I still have a
So,
wife.
you know, we have to like stay on topic and keep
I
moving
still
forward.
have a wife.
So we're gonna move to our local schools. I see, Deanna Watson is here from Citizens of the World. Yeah, well, actually, the other schools, you're the only one from a school here, so you can go ahead. Yeah, if you don't mind, yeah, that'll make it easier for everybody to hear you.
Thank you everyone for your time. I have a few things. I don't want to take up too much time. Stay here, friend. Stand in the frame.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'm Deanna Watson, engagement as Citizens of the World, the school across from Bramble Park. Next Saturday, July 30th, we're having our Hands, Heart, Mind Festival. So at our school, we believe, or we really want to push that our kids learn and engage through their hands, their heart, and their mind. So this is a free community event. We'll have a bounce house out. School of Rock will be performing. We'll have free food, free drinks. We just want to make sure that we have something for the community to do. That night, and we will feed them. We'll also have Zoom meeting that was confirmed today, so we'll have Zoom meeting there as well. So if you're interested in something that'll get them moving, keep them engaged and occupied, and they get to go home full and with a craft, feel free to stop by. That is next Saturday, July 30th from 2 p.m. through 5 p.m. I also want to speak on behalf of our partners who couldn't be here today. So Dominique is our partner through Brick Gardens. So I know one of the things that is facing Madisonville is food security. So they are planting things on Madison Road, but also on the school site. So if you are in need of greens or just fresh produce, please or give us a call. We don't want that to go to waste. And they'll be at the festival as well next Saturday making smoothies. The next one is Heroes Rise. They have turned our gym into a dance studio. So they will students, they will it's a hip hop street dance. With 1 week they'll be learning popping, the next week locking, and just really learning the historical accuracy hip hop dance and how it plays a role in ballet. But the great thing is they're also offering services after school. So if you are interested and you would like a membership, they are offering that. And that is on site as well. Lastly, with enrollment, kindergarten, we have a few spots left. So if you are still looking for a good school option, please consider us. I am at the building every week. We help with enrollment or registration. We are there to assist you with that. And we also were able to secure funding for after school. So if you can't get your kids right at 3 o'clock, School Aid will be providing our after school care. So you can ensure that your child is in a safe environment, but they're also in an enriching environment where they get to move. And so that will be available as well. And that's all. So we can't wait to see you next Saturday. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Next up is Terry Barnum from our library branch. Terry, you still there?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, it's going really well.
Okay, the sound has been quite choppy on my end, so if I can't hear you, that is why. Just a few updates, and then I'll hand it over to a kind of a special guest that we have today. Just a reminder that we have Discover Summer, our summer reading program going on, and it goes through August 31st. So if you haven't showed up, bring your kids so they can get their free books, and then also get a chance to win some great prizes. We also have been serving meals courtesy of UMC Food Ministry that continues. So we serve hot meals at noon, and then we have a snack as well at 4 o'clock. So it's a great place for our kids in the community to come and get some free grub if they'd like. Speaking of grubs, next August or August 16th at 2 p.m. we will have the Bug Chicks here in Madisonville doing a presentation on some bugs, and the kids will get to kind of learn about the insects as well as get to pet them if they like. And then quick update with the facility project or our new Madisonville library. So all the walls are been up, they're primed. I think I even seen a few coats of the, or first few coats of the paint. So it's great to see some color showing up on the walls. So if you get a chance to kind of peek through the windows, the vestibules, the glass has all been installed. So really the space is really coming alive. So I'm getting pretty excited for you guys all to get some sneak peeks. If you haven't, you can check out our website and it'll have some of the pictures in the space throughout the whole progress of the build out. And then right now we're at an exciting stage where we are beginning to look at what the inside mural is going to be looking like. And we really want it to be reflective of the community, which is why we are partnering with Artworks of Cincinnati. And I will leave it to our special guest. We have the Director of Community Impact, that is Carla Batres Gilvin here. She's on the line. So she will give you guys a little bit more insight of those engagement opportunities surrounding the new mural that will go in the new branch. So if somebody doesn't mind unmuting Carla for us, I'll let her take it away.
Yeah, go ahead, Carla. Hopefully,
yeah.
Hear me?
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me and see me? Hi. So like Terry just introduced, thank you for introducing me, Terry. My name is Carla and I work with Artworks. I'm the Director of Community Impact. So today I really wanted to join the meeting to say hello, but also to bring awareness to this exciting new partnership that we have going on with the Madisonville Branch Library that is being in the works right now, actually. So I wanted to discuss some project details and kind of our schedule and also kind of have an ask at the end of this as well. So Artworks has partnered with the Madisonville Library Branch to create a movable mural, and it will be produced on sheets of metal that will then be installed on the wall for the Madisonville Library Branch's new space. This mural will be located in the lobby near the makerspace, and it will be visible from the outside. And we hope it will make people curious enough to come inside and take a closer look. This mural will be informed by the community engagement the team will conduct in the first 2 weeks of the project with the guidance and framework created by the lead teaching artist. And her name is Shari Khosravani. And she will lead a group of apprentices, which are typically between the ages of 14 to 21. They are youth, local youth from our community. So these apprentices will engage with the lead teaching artist and with the community to help create the mural design. The team will then spend the last 2.5 weeks producing the mural, and the mural then will be installed at a later date. So what we're thinking about for the project schedule is that it's actually coming up. The first day to work on the project on the community engagement is August 1st. So this project will be going on from August 1st to the 19th of August from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Then there will be a week-long break. And after that, the team will reconvene from August 29th to September 22nd with new hours to accommodate kind of public school and schooling schedules. So 5 to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday and 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on Saturdays. So basically breaking down the schedule even more is there will be 2.5 weeks of community engagement that will happen the 1st of August to the 12th of August, and 3 weeks to design the project and 2.5 weeks to produce the mural. So far, we've been partnering with the library to come up with different events that we can kind of coincide with and take advantage of really to be a part of the community, but also gather input. So the first of those events is August 3rd at 2:30 before an event at the library called Teen Chefs. And so we will be interviewing community members before this event. Another meeting that we will also be kind of present at after the event is on August 10th at 11:30. And this will be the story time event that happens at the library. So really the goal is to get as much community feedback as possible. So I wanted to bring this project to light, not only to kind of bring this up to the group, but also to any organizations or businesses within the community of Madisonville. If you have any projects or events going on in the community during the schedule, we would love to like piggyback off of these events in order to connect with the community and do engagement at events. or if you yourself as an individual would like to be interviewed, and to gain your input about what you would like to see on this mural and in the library space. We would love to have your feedback. So you can reach me at Artworks. My email is carla@artworkscincinnati.org. Again, it's carla@artworkscincinnati.org. Or you can connect with Terry, and he can connect you with me or with the team that will be in Madisonville directly. So yeah, we're super excited to be within the community. We just wanted to give you a heads up in case you see a bunch of youth walking around that you haven't recognized before. So we're excited to just get to know you all.
Thank you very much. I have a hand up online from Alex Smith. Let's see if Alex is able to unmute himself and ask his question. There you go. Maybe did I accidentally kick? Oh, there he is. All right, Alex, are you good to ask your question?
He's on mute.
Jim buttons here. Maybe he stepped away.
Oh, now can you hear me?
Yes, here we go.
Okay. Shall I repeat myself?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sorry.
Carla, I was asking about, I noticed there's a mural appearing at the Madison Villa Apartments. Is that an Artworks project? And also I saw that there was a mural that went on the Fifth Third Bank a few weeks ago that kind of came in under the radar. So those are two murals that have enhancing our neighborhood. And I'm just saying, if you're involved in both those, thank you very much. And citywide, thank you.
Yeah, so we are currently in the works and hopefully doing more projects within Madisonville. The mural that I'm aware of right now is the ERS mural going on in Madisonville at the retirement kind of home. I'm not exactly sure if that's the same one that you're referring to, but it's kind of a natural landscape with birds and kind of like floral and natural kind of figures popping up. But yeah, that is the one that I am aware of.
Yeah, the other one at the Fifth Third Bank was by another group called Color Palette. Soul Palette. Almost had it. All right, if there are no other questions or comments for the library / art works, we will move on to our special guest, Gabe Davis, who is the director of the Citizen Complaint Authority. I'm gonna go ahead and grab that mic and then I'll run the slides from over here.
Fantastic. Good evening, Madisonville. I'm going to hand out my presentation so you can follow along and refer to that later if you wish. My name is Gabe Davis. I'm the executive director of the Citizen Complaint Authority. What we do, who we are, and talk about our structure. We're going to go through material as well. It's always good to be Madisonville to say this personal side. My family roots run deep here. My grandparents live over on Normandy. My grandmother's side, her great grandparents was over on Erie. So it's good to be back and to be home to CCA. I'll talk about our mission here.
I'm so sorry. People are having trouble hearing. Can you just hold it up to your mouth?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's much better. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm going to talk about our mission, go over our mission statement, what we do. I'm going to talk about the history of the Citizen Complaint Authority. Let's talk about organizational structure, our investigations process, and how we do investigations. It's a key part of our mission. Citizen board that we have as well, and how that fits into our work. I'm going to talk about our complaint prevention work we do in the community, go over some brief statistics, and then take any questions that you have. So I a lot to cover. I speak very quickly. I will try my best to slow down. So the mission of CCA is to investigate serious interventions by police officers in Cincinnati, to discharge of firearms, deaths in custody, and major uses of force, and to review and resolve citizen complaints in a fair and efficient manner. In order to identify opportunities for the Cincinnati Police Departments and community to prevent complaints. Such examinations include identifications of at-risk officers, at-risk citizens, and circumstances that might lead to complaints. In doing so, we examine opportunities, examine both circumstances that lead to complaints and opportunities to reduce those circumstances and alter the circumstances. So we're very proud of the progress we've made in Cincinnati with police over the past 20 years. But make sure that progress continues and we build on that. That's a key part of what we do at CCA. So this is a brief word on our history. There was a lawsuit that was filed back in 2001. It alleged 30 years of racial profiling by Cincinnati police officers here in our community. A few weeks after that was filed, there was civil unrest that broke out in and around over the Rhine. That was sparked by the shooting of a man named Timothy Thomas, who was a 19-year-old. That was unarmed. You might remember this incident. It touched off a series of days of unrest, protests, rioting over the Rhine. This combined with the lawsuit created the conditions for a real change in Cincinnati. A lot of tension, a lot of anger, but out of that, the city agreed to settle the lawsuit and to institute some key reforms to public safety here in Cincinnati. That lawsuit led to the creation of what's called the collaborative agreement, which you might be familiar with. The collaborative agreement did a number of different things. It created CCA as one of those byproducts. There was also an investigation by the Justice Department at the same time. The city entered into what's called a memorandum of agreements, which had a lot of the same things as a collaborative. These two things led to the creation of CCA and gave us our structure and our protocol, so to speak. So next slide, please. So our structure at CCA is comprised of a director, that's me. We have a staff made up of professional investigators. We also have an advisory board comprised of 7 members of the community that are appointed. And as we'll get into in a moment, we're not a part of the police department. We're completely independent and separate, but we do work with the department, and we obviously do transparency and accountability work with respect to our investigations of officers who've been accused of wrongdoing. Our board, you can see there are the names. There are 5 members currently. There are 2 vacancies at the mayor is in the process of appointing, filling. So we'll have a 7-member board once again very shortly. This just shows you just a little graphical picture there of our structure with the board, our staff, and our administrative professionals who assist our mission, and the city manager who appoints me in my role as director. So what types of complaints do we investigate at CCA against police officers? That's a common. So on the left-hand side of that column, you'll see what we term our primary allegations that we investigate. And if a citizen brings something like this to our attention, we want to file a complaint alleging one of these things, we will investigate it every time. If a citizen is alleging discrimination or racial profiling, if they're alleging improper entry, improper search procedure, excessive use of force, if they're alleging an improper car stop, if they're alleging that a firearm is pointed at them by a police officer, they don't like that. If they're alleging harassment, discharge of a firearm, or if there's a death in police custody that takes place, we will investigate. And we will investigate deaths and discharge of firearms even without a complaint. So as soon as a police officer fires a weapon, we go out to the scene immediately and investigate that along with any deaths that might occur. We also investigate things like discourtesy or unprofessional attitude. If those are the complaints brought to our attention, we investigate those. Lack of proper service and improper procedure allegations. I should say that those 3 on the right side are more, or I should say that they're serious, but they're not as serious as the other allegations. We will investigate those 3 if they're accompanied by one of the more serious allegations. But in isolation, we do not investigate discourtesy, for instance. So if someone says to us that an officer cursed them out or was rude to them, and that's the only thing they're complaining about, we take that information, we will refer that on to the police department. We do not investigate discourtesy in isolation. But if someone were to tell us, police officer used excessive force against me and it was discourteous to me, then we'll investigate both the discourtesy and excessive force. That's how that works. So our process, and this is a very brief summary. This does not cover everything. There's much more. We do an intake. If someone wants to file a complaint, we take it in a number of different ways. You can file with us online. You can send us an email. You can walk into our office. You can call us on the phone. There are many, many ways to get a complaint on file if a citizen chooses to do so. The investigation that we conduct follows that complaint being filed. We assign a professional investigator to it.
That person will collect bits of evidence, they'll collect statements, so to speak, from witnesses, from the officer who's been accused, from the citizen. Their body cameras now, so we gather all the video evidence to review what happened during those interactions with police and citizens. We also review police paperwork, medical records, if it exists pertaining to the case, we try to get a hold of it, we try to look at that and make that. And once we gather all the facts, we do an analysis, make a determination as to whether or not officers who are involved violated any police policies, training, or procedure dictates. So that's our North Star, is have the officers violate policy, training, or procedure. We also have to take a look at what the laws say, because the policy requires officers to follow the law. So if those things were not violated, then we say officers either exonerated on that allegation. If things were violated, then we'll sustain that allegation. It goes on to our board. The board does a review. They meet and they look at those reports that my staff produce. The board meets first Monday of the month, every month, and they discuss those things. Citizens and officers can appeal my reports to the board about how we do our job and how we concluded. Once the board takes a vote, city manager makes a decision, and that goes on to the police chief. So I won't leave your push on this. The board talked about this a little bit. They meet, they review the reports, goes on to the city manager. So we'll go to the next slide. We also do policy recommendations and review work. As I mentioned, part of our mandate is to also try to prevent complaints, address root causes. So we learn in our investigations and we factor that into how we come up with constructive recommendations on matters of policy, corrective action, training, and what have you. So on the left-hand side, you'll see some successful collaborations that we've had with the department on policy reforms. On the right-hand side, you'll see some existing opportunities we've identified. We have outstanding recommendations that we're currently working on to try to get those reviewed and see whether or not there's any common ground. So you'll see the body-worn camera usage on the right-hand side. We made a recommendation to expand the use of that by police officers. That was adopted a few years back, so we're happy to have that be a fruitful by many other areas where that exists. So this just shows you our 5-year complaint trend and breaks down the number of complaints we get in a given year. You'll see that that green bar shows you the overall number of complaints that we get. The blue bar shows you the complaints that we investigate. So as I mentioned earlier, if you bring us a disturbancy allegation, we will not investigate that unless it's accompanied by a more serious allegation. So that green bar shows all the complaints we get, including things like disturbancy alone. The blue bar shows you what we serious allegations that we get. So you can look at this in more detail. This just shows you a breakdown of what the allegations are that people are making. We get quite a few excessive force complaints, quite a few proper search and seizure complaints, and proper stop complaints. Other things a little bit less, we'll see less of, but yeah, that's spread. This shows you how we make our findings. You'll note that dark blue bar, those are the exonerated findings. The green bar, that's when we not say the finding. The orange bar is if we sustain the finding, that means we find something that is proper, we'll sustain it. And the light blue bar is founded. So that kind of is, I'm not going to break down all the definitions for that. It's in our annual report. You can look that up. I'm happy to talk about that. But the data shows, you can see that we do tend to clear officers most of the time. About 16% of the time in 2021, we sustained an allegation of misconduct. About 25% of the time, we sustained an allegation in 2020. But typically speaking, about 75 to 85% of the time, we either exonerate by found or not. This shows the neighborhood with most complaints. 2021, we have most of our complaints in Westwood, followed by the West End, and then downtown, the OTR, and Avondale. Madisonville is not on this list. I think for anything in the 5 years here we have the data for, so that's a good thing. Part of our job doing this outreach though is to make sure people know who we are, so that if something's happening, we want to make sure that we fix that. But if everyone, so that's part of the whole outreach. This shows you just a breakdown by neighborhood of District 2. So you can see that Madisonville in particular, I think there were about 4 complaints we got in 2021. In 2017, there were 8 complaints. So a bit more there in 2017, but it's been increasing since. And in 2021, at least Hyde Park, Kennedy Heights, or I believe Hyde Park and Evanston, excuse me, both had 5 complaints. So they tied for the top, so to speak, for 2021. And then it shows you the breakdown across the entire city. District 3 is our heaviest contributor for complaints against officers. District 2 is our smallest, exception of downtown. So that's all I have, but happy to take any questions. Happy to come back if you can make and do a deep dive if you have questions as well.
Use the mic. Yeah.
Is it true that that Congress passed a bill that the police don't have to give you your rights, read your rights anymore when they stop you?
The Supreme Court had a decision regarding Miranda rights.
So I think what you're referring to is a recent decision by the US Supreme Court, which basically means that officers can't be held, like they're not in trouble anymore if they don't tell you your Miranda rights. So your right to remain silent, that whole spiel, the Supreme Court just took a dent out of that. So I'm not a lawyer, I can't tell you more than that, but it's a recent Supreme Court decision.
Yeah, just to add to that very briefly, I'm an attorney by training, and I was a prosecutor in a former life. But yeah, so I have not read that decision, but that's correct. So essentially the courts have said, Supreme Court has said that officers cannot be sued if they do not read your Miranda rights. However, evidence can still be suppressed. So if an officer takes a statement from you, they don't read your Miranda rights and you're under arrest, that statement can be tossed out in a criminal case against you, but you can't sue the officer if they don't read your Miranda rights. So, yes.
Since 2001, Cincinnati has been a catalyst, and you ought to be, your group should be very proud of yourself. When all this stuff went on a couple years ago, we were a catalyst for the rest of the country. And I don't know how long you've been involved in with your current position, but you ought to be awful proud of yourself. You really turned this community around. And I've been around a long time, but you ought to be awful proud of yourself and your group. And, probably you don't get comments like that too often, but I know living in this area for a long time and having a police officer as a brother and who lives in the community, it's worked out real well since 2001. That was during the Bush administration when they came out with that. So I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You're right. We often don't hear that, but we made some great progress here in the city. CCA has been a part of that as well as our department. So I'm very, very proud of that work. Thank you.
All right, we got somebody online. Nils Hertelin. Should be good to go.
Yeah, I was. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just curious. You mentioned the board. Who is the board comprised of?
Yes. So
like certain public officials or just.
That's a great question. So the board's comprised of members from our community, a cross section of Cincinnatians. And I don't believe you're allowed to be a public official. You can't be, for instance, a sitting police officer for Cincinnati. I think you could be a former Cincinnati police officer or a former officer from somewhere else. But a cross section of folks from small business owners. In the past, we've had attorneys. We've had folks who have been psychologists. So a cross section of individuals with various sets of experiences comprise the board currently and in the past.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, I think we got, I know the next hand I saw was Ann Boland at home.
Hi, lower hand. Gabe, Ann Boland, I'm on a lot of your calls with Iris Rowley. I just wanted to say I have seen Gabe in action and reporting on the cases that they cover, as well as the decisions that are made pursuant to their discussions, and they're very fair-minded. So I think that the Citizens Complaint Authority has come a long way in the last 20 years, but certainly having Gabe on board and Iris as well, it's to our advantage. And I think that the police force knows that they will be held accountable if they are not acting appropriately. So thanks, Gabe, for all your work.
Hey, Stan, always good to see you.
All right, we have another question in person.
Yeah, so the ACLU recently put out a report about police presence in public schools that showed some pretty startling numbers regarding which students are being targeted. And I'm just curious if you all have received any complaints or doing anything in that area.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we frankly don't get a lot of complaints from minors, and we're trying to, again, do more outreach to try to understand why that might be. And if it's the case that minors are having a great experience with officers, then that's great. We obviously are happy that that's occurring. We want to prevent complaints. But if in fact there are things that are happening that are not appropriate, then we do want to be made aware of those things. So we're trying to do a better job of doing that outreach to the minors. There are officers from the department that work in the schools. And so certainly if something happens there that's not proper, not appropriate, we could investigate that action as well. And if those things occur, then we do want to be made aware of them.
Oh, we get another question here in person. You go ahead, Alicia.
Hi, I have two questions. They're not related, but they're both kind of administrative in function. The first one is when you have a situation where there's a complaint that has to do with administrative or internal procedural, how do you go about that? Because that's a little bit different than investigating something that's happening on an actual call. And I didn't know if the cooperation was there and kind of how you approach that. The second question is, I could see how this could be beneficial either way, whether things are going really well or really poorly. For collective bargaining, are you all involved in that process at all, or taken into consideration like your reports or anything, any of your findings?
Yeah, so on your first question, for the most part, we tend to get complaints that deal with street encounters, interactions that occur out in the community. So they typically are not complaints that are based on things that might be happening back at the district in the office, so to speak. However, I'll never say never. So I think if something were to occur that did involve someone's rights or did involve police policy and purely involved an administrative thing that happened, back behind the desk, so to speak, then we might take a look at that. It would just depend on what the allegation was. If it's not, instance of force or search or an arrest or and discrimination, a little harder for us to typically get involved, just given our primary criteria. If it's merely procedural, but certainly which depends on the set of facts that exist, and there are a set of policies in the books for everything that officers do. So in theory, we could be involved depending on what the complaint was. When it comes to the second question about collective bargaining, CCA is not, I should say, directly involved with the collective bargaining that occurs. That's mostly between the city manager's office and the police union, and perhaps the police department as well. But certainly, what goes on in those discussions impacts our work insofar as we try to be part of the conversation pertaining to corrective action at the end of the day. So if an officer has engaged in misconduct, and if it's not, if there's a pattern of that, certainly we think that, hey, this officer could benefit from some corrective action, maybe some retraining, maybe a reprimand. There's some stiffer things as well that may be appropriate depending on the case. These things are rare, but they occur. CCA wants to be a part of that discussion, certainly. And so whatever the collective bargaining agreements permit and allow for certainly influences our work at the end of the day, but we're not as involved in the front end when it comes to actually negotiating those agreements.
Okay, I think that is it. Any other questions? I think you're good. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you all.
Yeah, there you go. Yep, here we go. All right, so it is 8:15. We do have two important items that we do need to vote on. So I would like to ask for the opportunity to move the business portion of the agenda ahead for the night. If I could get someone to make that motion. Kate Botos.
Mike, yay. I make a motion to move the business portion of the agenda to the forefront of the meeting.
Okay, can I get a second? All right. Yeah, there you go. Lots of hands. But Anna Albee, how about that? If we can still have a quorum, let's see. Let me check online. Thank you for that clarification. So we need 15 members, and let's see. I know we can verify if Melissa, do you have the roster to double check. So yeah, so for quorum, we need 4 board members for a meeting as well as 15 active members. That makes it so that we can make sure everybody's on the same page and we're not like just passing things along. So the big items on our agenda for the business portion of the meeting is the beautification committee. We'll go first. That is Joan Willis. And they are actually looking to do a luminaria for the year as a fundraiser, as well as a community builder. And then the other item might take a little bit longer. That is the Madison Road traffic study request from the transportation, Kathleen Cawley, our transportation chair. And so that was kind of some feedback that we got from the city of how to move forward with some concerns that we received from a major stakeholder in the neighborhood. But yeah, we're double checking to make sure that we have quorum so that we can vote on the motion to move the business portion forward. Oh. I think that was, yeah. So we have 14 active members present.
This is what we check about. Is anybody not paying dues that would like to pay dues? As a resident not paying dues, that can pay dues today, you wouldn't be able to vote, but you would consider it quorum.
We're making sure we have quorum before we vote on rearranging the agenda. So the agenda for this meeting is set in our bylaws, but our procedures are set by Robert's Rules of Order, and we are allowed to ask for a motion to rearrange the agenda. And so that's what we're checking on, because we still want to make sure we have quorum. That way it can be done official and we're not just kind of coasting and doing things inappropriately. Yeah. Hey, Joan, you have your hand up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was just
Go
going to
ahead,
say, sometimes Sophia and Alex are on the same screen. Are they both there?
Yes, they are. But I think Kate just confirmed that we're good. All right.
All right. Great.
Okay. Okay. So so we have to have a motion. So we're voting on, can we move the business portion of the agenda forward into the meeting? So by show of hands, can I get any yeses in the room and online? Use the raise hand feature. Right, got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I cannot vote. I have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 at home. And do we have everybody lower your hands? Do we have any no's? Lower all hands. All right, so we have 1. So for any no's, raise your hand. Okay. might have two there on Zoom, so that's 17-2. So we will go ahead and move the business portion of the agenda ahead. I will lower all hands online. So Joan, who's at home, do you mind going first to talk about your request for the luminaria? Am I even saying
Sure.
that? Luminaria?
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
This year, Beautification Committee would like to have a luminaria event. Sophia Helms and Sarah Bunn have volunteered to run this for two reasons. One is to decorate and light up Madisonville around the holidays. That would be on Saturday, December 3rd. And secondly, as a fundraiser for beautification and beautification projects. We imagine that we will sell kits of let's see, what did Sophia call it? A balcony kit of 5 luminaria or a home kit of 10 luminaria. There was a suggestion in the board meeting that we consider very strongly offering an option of battery votives so that we don't have to worry about flames, particularly in apartments. So I can't tell you the exact price we would charge because that's going to vary depending on what materials we get. We would like to order the products for the luminaria for 1,000 votive candles at the end of August, by August 29th. So this is the last meeting we have before that, and we need your approval to do so. What we would like to do, the cost we anticipate will be somewhere between $700 and $1,000. And we assume that sales, or we'll work hard for sales to get up to $1,400 to $2,000. So there, oh, very nice, Carrie. So there will be profit, but what we're asking the community council is to advance us the funds of $700 to $1,000, which we would then pay back with first dollars that come in, and then anything left over after would be in the beautification budget for our projects for another year. So the motion I'm suggesting is that A, you approve the luminaria fundraising project, and B, you allow the council to advance the $700 to $1,000 for costs, which will be repaid when we sell the luminaria.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to open up debate on the item? Got Kathleen Cawley. And then second, there, okay. Jason Ramage, thank you. Second, does anybody have any questions for Joan about this proposal? Yeah. So maybe to clarify, Joan, can you talk about your budget for the beautification committee?
Yes, the beautification committee currently spends about $5,000 per year, maybe $6,000. We do a fundraising event where we write letters to the Madisonville businesses and ask them to adopt a planter. We've been very successful in raising about $3,000 from that. In addition, we get about $1,000 from NSP funds each year, subject to everybody's vote. And with that $4,000, we pay the city for the 20 planters that are on Madison Road throughout the business district. It's $200 per planter. We have 20 planters. The rest of our funds, which is generally about $1,000, comes from things like the garden tour last year. We earned $900 from the garden tour. And with those, we buy things like plants for the common planters that the city doesn't take care of for us. Tool rental if we need it, although Tool Bank gives us most of our tools. We have 2 water carts that need to be repaired sometimes, and I just bought a new hose and a new nozzle for one of them. Sometimes there's potting soil, sometimes there's mulch, sometimes there's bulbs. We planted a lot of bulbs last year in the Erie Median and at Murray Triangle. So our budget is right around $5,000.
Yep.
Other communities, like Marymount, I think it's a great thing. It's a no-brainer. Other communities like Marymount, other communities, Hyde Park, they have this. There's a great thing for the community, really. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Thank you for
when
that.
Madisonville's done it before, it's been a little while. Yep. And are there any questions online? I'm not seeing any.
What is the cost per kit, like for a residential?
It is, let's see, I've got it right here. The pricing that we figured out was on candles that you really light. And that was about $3.60 for the cost of the balcony kit. We'd sell them for about, let's see here, hang on, $3.96, about $7.50. So we'd have profit of $3.90. The home kits we would sell for $15 for 10 votives. The cost would be $7.20. The profit would be $7.80. So it's roughly 50% cost to the sale.
How would you?
How and where will we sell these at? Would it be the rec center here, or we're going to have a facility where people come get it? Or how's that logistics going to work?
Some of those details have yet to be worked out, but what Sarah and Sophia anticipate is that we will order supplies to cover 1,000 candles initially. Just after Labor Day, through Nextdoor, through the website, through Facebook, and through posters that are going to be hung in the apartment centers around town and at the community centers like the rec center or the churches. We're hoping that all the sales will happen online. Sales would be open until about October 29th. Then we get together in November and assemble the kits and have folks pick them up from some central location.
The community council has a Square site for payment for membership, for the signs that you see around the neighborhood, and so that would be added to that.
Hey, Joan, I missed our meeting. So are these going to be any different than the luminaries we usually do?
No, they would be just the same, Tony.
Okay.
However, we may try and get some without that don't use flames.
Okay.
But yeah, it would be basically the same thing. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
We are also going to ask the businesses in the area to participate, because what we'd like to do is couple this December 3rd Luminaria with, hopefully we'll have a Winterfest celebration this year, and try and get the businesses to all decorate for that December 3rd as well. So I think it could be very festive.
Okay, that is all the questions and comments that I see. I think, are we ready to move on and vote on this item? Or, go ahead, Catherine. Oh.
Motion to vote on the item.
Okay, and seconded, so that's Kathleen Colley having the motion to vote on the item, and I'll be seconding it. Okay, so let's see, for all the yeses, if you support this motion to approve the funding of this program, this Luminaria program, and as a reminder, like, we do have to vote on everything at the general body that is we're spending more than $100 on. So by show of hands, in person and online, any yeses, raise your hand, please. All right, so in person, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Online, I have 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so 17 yeses. I will lower everyone's hands. 17 yeses. Are there any no's? By show of hands. Seeing no no's. Okay, so 17. The yays have it, as they say, and good to go. So beautification. We'll go ahead and make those purchases, and we'll have a big update for everyone in September and posting that on our Facebook as well as through email. All right, that's that. Mr. Capser, question.
There were two parts of the proposal. The first was a vote that was good, and then the second part of the proposal was to vote to allocate the money.
Okay, we can do that proper procedure. We can do that. So the original motion was to
I think, well, was your original motion to accept Joan's two-part request?
That was my intention, yes.
okay, all right. Or we can move on. All right. So the next order of business is our transportation chair, Kathleen Colley, is going to once again have a presentation about the Madison Road traffic study proposal. Yeah, you use that guy and I can. Yeah.
All right, hi everybody. I think a lot of you have already heard this or you've seen the FAQ that was available at the sign up table, so I'm going to keep this quick. Basically, we have been over the years getting a lot of complaints about traffic on Madison Road. People drive very fast. It was designed to move a lot of cars very quickly. And so it's dangerous to people, not only in cars, but people on the sidewalks walking and riding their bikes or getting around in other ways. So we've been talking to the city and their recommendation was that we use money from our TIF district to fund a traffic study, which will give us an idea of a comprehensive series of improvements that we can ask to be implemented all along Madison from Med Pace Way to, I believe, Blasey Avenue. So if you could just, Carrie, make these slides just sort of show the extent of the problem. These are crashes between 2016 and 2020. You can see Madison Road is a pretty strong red line of crashes. And then crashes with injuries and fatalities is harder to see, but there are still a lot of injuries and even a fatality down there. Are we able to make it?
Yeah. There we go.
So the study would be conducted by one of the city's contractors. They have several who are used to doing this work for them and can do a good job. Basically, they would collect an hourly traffic count, turn count, and then speed data and data that shows us, okay, where are people coming from when they're driving on Madison Road and where are they going? So that gives us an idea of, is a lot of the traffic on Madison Road people cutting through from Indian Hill and Marymount? And are there better ways for them to get to the highway rather than speeding through our neighborhood? And then,
Sorry, yeah, there you go.
The other parts of the study would be to analyze that data and determine what improvements are most appropriate, and then conduct several public feedback sessions, usually most likely here, maybe other places, to talk to us and understand, what are residents' needs, what are residents' concerns. The city did this recently with the West End on Lynn Street, and the consultant put together, I think, 7 or 8 alternatives, drawings showing what the road could look like in the future to make it safer. And the residents were able to look at these design alternatives and vote on the ones that they thought made the most sense for the neighborhood. So we would ask for a similar sort of feedback between the consultant and the neighborhood. They would also provide cost estimates so we know, okay, how much can we expect some of these improvements to cost? So that we know where to go looking for funding to actually build them. So the ask tonight is to request $45,000 from TIF District 19 for the Madison Road traffic study so that DOTE can engage a consultant and create a scope of work and then coordinate with us to schedule and run the public engagement sessions. Does anyone have any questions? I'd like to, yes, this is the transportation committee, so there are a couple of us who have been involved. I do, yes.
I've been here all my life, and I'll be 71 this year. And I tell you what, statistically, how many accidents have you found in the last 5-10 years on Madison Road? We would know how many accidents would be on Madison Road because I live here all my life. How many accidents?
This shows the year that they occurred. There are probably 80, 90 on Madison Road alone. And this doesn't even count close calls, which I think a lot of us who have driven on Madison Road understand how often those happen. Even if you haven't been in a crash, you've had a close call.
So study, we're going to look at the railroad bridge. Is this, it's doing this study. Can we enhance it to bring in the main problem we have on Madison Road, which is the trucks hitting the bridge? I mean, it's a study, a traffic study that's causing more problems than anything else. I have ideas about putting rumble strips there. I got ideas, but it doesn't seem to happen. Last week we had 2 of them hit. So that seems to be the biggest problem we have on Madison Road to me. So that's just my opinion.
So the study area does include the railroad bridge. And that's something that, especially as a community, we can ask a consultant to give us ideas for. So.
Y'all trying to spend all this money just on Madison Road. I live on Chandler. We have just as many people speeding down our street they do on Madison Road. So why are you trying to do one study on a main road and not all the other?
So
thank you. That's a good question.
I'll take that. Yeah. So there's 2 reasons for that. So primarily for a street like Chandler or a street like Rowe or Erie or Bramble or Plainville, those streets are not in the TIF district. So we can't use money out of the TIF district necessarily. The city is not legally allowed to use money from the TIF district on those streets. And the other issue there is when it comes to Chandler and Rowe, there are already processes for traffic calming for those streets. Residents have to fill out the petitions. You have to have 50% of the neighbors of the residents there have to sign the petition. And so without getting all the way in the weeds on it, that's kind of the big problem, is that Madison Road is very busy. But unfortunately, compared to other neighborhoods, they do have more dangerous streets than us, which means when the city's main focus is on safety, which has been probably the second highest topic in the city politically right now is just traffic safety. We're going to be behind because you're right. It is unsafe. However, there are streets that are a lot more unsafe. And so that's the focus the city is going to have, is on those streets. And so the normal processes the city has, they're going to use that funding and that grant on those streets, and we're going to fall behind there. So we've got to kind of poke them in the eye, if you will, to get them to actually pay attention to our concerns.
I guess that may help. It wasn't mentioned specifically, but I think St. Paul Village is kind of one of the driving forces or people kind of behind bringing this up with the residents there.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had that in the FAQ and I forgot to mention it, but this discussion kind of started when St. Paul Village approached us and said, hey, a few years ago, there was a discussion about widening the sidewalk on the south side of Madison Road near us. We think this would be great for our residents, a lot of whom use wheelchairs and walkers, and the sidewalk is really not, it's not wide enough. It's dangerous for them out there. So we were talking about that and talking to the city, and I really understood that unless we address the speed at which cars are driving down Madison Road, even with a wider sidewalk, that area is still not going to be very safe. So we want to make sure we can do a good job and address these issues comprehensively.
So in the interest of time and because we didn't have a motion to start discussion, can I go ahead and make a motion to spend 45,000 of the TIF district money on a traffic study?
Okay, is there a second? Okay, Mike Ty, second. Yes, the railroad bridge. It's from, to clarify, so the ask will be Madison Road from Medpace Way to Camargo. So that would be essentially the very end of Madison Road. This is the public right-of-way. This would include the public right-of-way, which would impact sidewalk, the curb, the tree lawn, if it exists, all of that space to include the roadway.
I'm just confused on when we went over to Artsville and we had the presentation that was done that cost $30,000. And how does that presentation connect with this current request?
Yes, I think the interpretation there is the parking study that is going on. That is not a direct conflict. Since this is a traffic study versus a parking study. So I guess the key difference there is parking study, like there could theoretically be some recommendations that are in conflict, and then that's going to be part of the discussion during the traffic study. If there are, that's a trade-off that the community is going to have to talk about. So if there are, if the traffic study, the recommendations come out of there that do happen to conflict with a parking study or any other study for that matter, we'll have to basically cross that bridge when we get to it. But I mean, we will be informed of those trade-offs because the parking study will say this is what you should do. The traffic study will say this is what you should do. And then we'll have to weigh those options at that time. Ms. Pearson?
Bob had a question about the health of the TIF.
Oh, yeah. So we contacted Economic Development. Budget Office said that the TIF district has an estimated $7 million in bonding capacity. And I believe it expires in 2032 is when that TIF district goes away.
You know, coming up Madison Road, turning right on Wetzel. Okay, when you turn, you got a big car, you have to be careful how you turn because that sidewalk. Oh, I'm sorry, because the sidewalk seems like it's protruded out too far when you make that turn, that right turn. They need to check that again because it's too far out to turn. You got a big car.
So yeah, she's referring to the bump out at the southeast corner of Madison Wetzel, and that's intentional. Like it's there intentionally to make you drive wider. And so what that does is it gives you two options. It makes that the person crossing the street is in the street for less amount of time, which is safer for them. But also means that a person driving in a car, as they are turning, they have to take a wider turn, which means they have to take that turn slower, which is safer. Oh, okay, yeah, and that's it is in part of the intention, yeah. And so, but that is part of the scope of the traffic study. And so, if it was improperly installed or if it has the wrong radius, it'll come through that.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear it. Yeah, every intersection will be part of it, and then but it won't like go down the street, if that makes sense. So it would be Madison Road, but it would be like, all right, so when we come to this intersection, what happens there on Madison Road? Like, does it need a turn lane, like a left turn lane, that kind of thing? Yeah.
So we do have an open motion on the floor to actually take a vote. I feel so. I think we should do that.
Yeah, so there's actually a link in the FAQ. I can send it to you if you're interested with a similar process that the city did in the West End on Lynn Street. And they had multiple community engagement sessions and presented drawings of what it could look like. So it could take, it kind of depends on how we interact with the city. It could take a few months. It could take, most likely, I would say less than a year. We do have an open motion. Do you have a?
Yeah. I think the key thing is we should technically be voting on if we want to vote on it, and which means if you want to keep discussing, then you would vote no.
Okay.
Right. So yeah. So ultimately, we have a motion on the floor to vote on the item, and so if you don't want to vote yet on it and you still want to talk about it, then you would just vote no, and then we would keep talking about it. So online, I'm going to lower all hands. So in person, if you would like to just go ahead and vote on this now, please raise your hand. I have 1, 2. is all in favor of stopping discussion and voting on the item? Okay. So from left to right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Online, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, lower all hands. Do I have, by show of hands, do I have any no's who would like to continue to discuss the item and not vote on it? I'm seeing 2 hands online. So the yays have it, and we will go ahead and in discussion and vote on the item. So the request is, do you want to rephrase the request just to clarify, just to make sure everybody's aware of what we're voting on?
Sure. The request is to allow the city to spend $45,000 from the Madisonville TIF district to hire a consultant to perform a traffic study for Madison Road between Medpace Way and Camargo. Know the proper protocol when to bring this up.
Yeah, so now we are going to vote on the item. Yes or no? Yeah. Okay, so by show of hands, says yes on the motion to ask the city for this traffic study from paid for by the TIF district. By show of hands, how many yeses do I have? From my left to right, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Online, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, we'll lower all hands. Is there anybody who does not support this motion and does not want us to ask the city for this traffic study? By show of hands, are there any no's? When once, going twice, I see none. So the motion carries. And our next steps is I will write a letter summarizing this, and I will send it to the director of the Department of Economic and Community Development. And I will post that in our next meeting documents at our next meeting. That way everybody can see what it says as a check on me. And we'll keep you updated as we're moving forward. This is really just the very first step in a fairly long process. Although part of that is for good reason, because there will be multiple public engagement sessions held by this engineer to kind of figure out what people want out of the street, how they want to interact with it, how they want to use it. So that ends the business portion of the meeting. I do have 3 quick updates for everyone for the president's report. All right, so the 3 things I have to update everybody on is the community budget request for this year, the grants that we were awarded, and the parking study. So for the community budget request, that is something that happens every other year. So that means we did this 2 years ago, and it's part of the city's normal budget process. And so each community council has the ability to send 3 requests to the city. And we would be asking them to find some money in the capital budget for 3 things. That's what those 3 requests would be. And it's kind of challenging. It's a little difficult. Not a very high success rate, I'll be honest with you, if you look at the history of the program. But for example, 2 years ago, one of our requests led to the Bramble Park Master Plan, which is being worked on, and it was approved. I will tell you that, but they have not finalized it yet, but they are very close. That was something that Brian Cervisi mentioned earlier. But that's like kind of an example of a success for the neighborhood resale. So what we're going to do is it's due at the end of September. That's when the community council has to send it to the city. So in September, we will hold a vote here to actually vote on which 3 items to send forward. But to get those items, we're going to reach out to the community. So I have a survey that we made that we're going to send out next week on social media and through email and in our fall newsletter. I have some copies here for folks to check out already, especially if you would like a hard copy to fill out. So I got some copies here. And what we're looking at is, it can be one, it can be one or two things. It can be like the broad strokes, like you could just say, hey, we want more streetlights. Or you could be very specific and you could tell us you want more streetlights on Stewart Avenue. And so either option's great, but we're just looking for whatever feedback, whatever is really concerning people about the public space in the city. And the board will get together and we'll kind of take those results and we'll kind of figure out the best way to turn that into a request to be successful for the neighborhood. And then we'll show those results in September and then give people hopefully more than 3 options so we can have a robust discussion, a healthy discussion. And then vote in September to move those forward. And then when they get moved forward, we'll find out the answers in May when the budget gets released by the mayor. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was the grants that we got, just give everybody an update. So you have the neighborhood support program. That's the annual program every single year that community councils get. So that our final report is due at the end of August. So in September's meeting, I'll have an update confirming that that was submitted. But what already was submitted was our kind of pre-clearance for next year's cycle. So that means we're good to go because we have to fill out some paperwork just to make sure that we're eligible to receive the funds, because it is managed by a city ordinance. And depending on how many community councils are active, kind of depends on the final dollar amount each one gets. But we're good to go moving forward for that. And then the other one is the Neighborhood Activation Fund. That is some stimulus funding that the city had for community councils. The good news there is that got extended. The deadline for those expenditures got extended to January of next year. And so, which is a great opportunity for us because it means that the paperwork isn't all due all at once for both of these, but also if we happen to underspend, we have more time to figure out maybe how to have an event for the community in the fall or the winter and try to help keep momentum going. All right, and then the last item I have to update everyone on is the parking study. So it's been kind of challenging communication-wise with the city, but they have posted the parking study online, and it's viewable for everyone on their website. For the parking division website. So that's Cincy Easy Park. I have some copies here in person. And these copies here are just like the brief summary at the beginning of the traffic study. It is 57 pages long, so I did not print out the full copy. You'll excuse me. But the link for that is in the meeting notes online that were sent out earlier, and you'll be able to read the full thing there, or you can go to Cincy Easy Park. And so we want to make sure everybody sees it so they can kind of read it for themselves and make up their own minds about it. I will remind everyone that nothing really is going to happen right away. It's kind of more of like a guideline of what should be done, what you could do in the future for all stakeholders, which includes our organization, but also includes the city itself. I think we're going to have hopefully a good turnout next Thursday back here again at the rec center. I'll make sure that the audio works better, but next Thursday, 7 o'clock here at the rec center, the manager of the parking division for the city of Cincinnati is going to have a Q&A session. So hopefully everybody comes out, tell everybody you know. This is an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you might have about the study, and if you need help finding it, let us know. That we want to make sure everybody can able to see it. But next Thursday, 7 p.m. rec center, right here, he will be able to answer all your questions. We're going to go ahead and also reach out. If you have any questions you already are thinking of, you can go ahead and reach out and send that to us. You can hit us up on Facebook, on our website, or on email. I'm going to launch a poll next week too online, so people can kind of submit their questions, and that way we can kind of front load some of the ones that we're seeing a lot of people ask. We can kind of front load those to get everybody's the common questions kind of knocked out of the way to make sure everybody's big concerns are hit up. But that's all I have for the president's report. Are there any questions for me, Ms. Pearson? Yeah, so people who don't have internet, like how are they going to find out about the meeting? Like, well, I mean, that's where we got to go old school. We got to do word of mouth. I mean, we don't have the capability to knock on every door or basically individually notify every single person. So it does take all of us at the community council to tell as many people as possible so the word of mouth can help spread it. Like, we don't have the technical capability.
In Madisonville.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like, the community council is a volunteer organization. So our capabilities are only as good or as bad as the volunteers that we have. And so that impacts our resources, right? So other community councils, they got a lot more money. So they got a lot more resources because they are in richer neighborhoods and they have a better ability to reach out and make sure they communicate with everyone. The issue with the newsletters, that takes like 6 weeks to do. Like, the newsletter is not a small task. It is a very monumental task. And so, yeah, some things are just not going to be able to make it into the quarterly newsletter. And you know, we just do our best. And that's why we need more participation at meetings like this, because then people go home and they tell all their friends and neighbors in the community to help spread the word. And that's a key part of the success of this organization is regular. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like, as we've shown here today, we, you know, do our due diligence to make sure we are voting properly. And so this is participatory democracy, and it does require participation regularly. And well, I mean, any constructive criticism, any suggestions, like, let us know. I've got a hand over here. Okay, thank you very much, Anna. So I think the first hand up was Ann Boland online. Go ahead.
Thanks. The library. I mean, we've got a library that has free internet and it has staff that are willing to help people to find what they need to find. So the link is in the newsletter, which is up at the library, and just use the library's computer to be able to print it out. You can print it out, take it home, or you can read it online.
Thank you. Go here.
Piggybacking off of Anne, so the issue is certain people don't have internet and certain people aren't able to get out. We can't have a town crier. We can't afford to send out a publication any more than what we are. The cost for the newsletter is pretty expensive, on top of the fact that it's volunteers putting this together, and they work very hard. So if we have the library, the clinic, do we have Meals on Wheels that come out to any of our folks that can't get out and purchase food for themselves or that need that kind of assistance? Because we could always ask them to take a flyer. But community boxes, this is not my idea. You all discussed this at one of our board meetings. It was somebody else's, I don't remember whose, but kind of like, you know, the old school newspapers, bins where you buy a newspaper and you'd open it up and pull it out for people who are my age or older. Maybe have a community box set up at several locations where we always have several newsletters. If there's a parking study or something, we print out 2 and leave it there, hoping that people in good faith will leave it. I mean, there's only so much we can do as volunteers, but kind of taking that, like having key places in our community that are easy for people to reach, that would be accessible. Do you think that would help? Do you think that we could do something like that? Is that feasible? Like, I don't feel like there'd be a huge cost associated with that. In fact, we could probably use some young people. If Miss Tony is still here, I don't know if she left or not, but oh, there she is. Miss Tony, if our youth want to like maybe create some boxes or something, like newspaper stands, something like that for us to use. Because at that point, it's just us printing stuff out and putting it there.
Yeah, and that could be the subject of a future fundraiser potentially. Yeah, and then and obviously with the NSP grant being due next month, like me and Joan are going to sit down, review the budget to make sure we're good, right, for that submission. So that can be something that we can discuss. I did have a hand up online first who hasn't said anything yet. Alex Smith, I believe you were next. Let me unmute you. Louder talk.
All right, test, 1, 2. Can you hear me?
You're good.
Excellent. I just like to just support Carrie in what your statement is about being involved in the community. We are a voluntary organization. Every person here, you included, are voted in, but voluntary. It takes a community to be involved. You can sit back and naysay and make criticisms, but if you don't show up, and that means show up for beautification, show up for luminarias, show up for whatever our community has to offer, then you really are kind of just sitting on your hands. So I really agree with you. I agree with Ann. Thank Alicia. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to do it, but if you sit and just complain, you're kind of just talking to the wall. So thank you, Carrie. Thank everybody for your voluntary efforts. It's a lot of effort and you're not getting paid for it. You have your own life. So I appreciate what you're doing. And if everybody else in this community would, be a member of the rec center, so the pool could be something that we could have. I mean, I'm a member of the rec center. I like to get a raise of hands of how many people in the room right now are a member of the rec center and how many people online are a member of the rec center. If you're not, you're not. Thank you. Good night.
Okay. No, any hands left in any other questions for me? See one comment online. I will continue to recommend the purchase of yard signs for council meetings to put out around the community to raise awareness of the meetings. The cleanup signs have brought in many new people. That's from Sophia Helms, a regular volunteer for the beautification committee. Kathleen, yep.
Community kiosks, if anyone's seen East Walnut Hills, just Hills Corner, I believe have been funded through the community budget request before. So that might be an idea people are thinking about in the survey.
Yeah. So our first suggestion. Okay. There are no questions or comments. We'll move on to committee reports. I'll go ahead and do that real quick on their behalf. So the Art Parks Recreation Education Joint Committees, their last Tuesdays at the park is this coming Tuesday. Weather dependent, as always, weather dependent. But that's the last one. It's been a very successful year for the event. Lots of kids coming out. I feel like we had a much higher attendance this year than we did last year. So we have over 1,000 people coming out, even though we did have to cancel one in July due to record-breaking heat. But we adjusted well. Cleanup and beautification, they have their ongoing cleanup schedule. And then the summer newsletter did go out last month. I can't confirm from communications. So you hopefully should have gotten that. It would have had the Fifth Third art mural on the front page. If you did not receive that in the mail, let us know. We need that feedback to keep the post office honest. And then we're working on our fall newsletter, which we hope to have out in September. And then Youth Council is always working diligently. And they worked over the past weekend, helping out with the greenhouse here at the rec center, right? Is that correct, Ms. Tony? Yeah, it's good work. So that's it for the community council. Let me check to make sure if we have any of our neighborhood partners still here. I'm not seeing anyone. I do know that MKirk could not make it, but they wanted me to let everyone know that they're gonna have an email newsletter out next week. You also will see online that they have a survey for the community. So you can see that on their Facebook page, and that will also be in their newsletter. So be on the lookout for that. And I believe Meek could not be here, but I know they had an update. Let me double check that. They had forwarded to me. Yep. They weren't able to make it, but they did have a flyer for a back to school distribution that they're doing for the community to give supplies out to kids in the neighborhood. And so we added that flyer to the meeting minutes for today. Ms. Tony, do you have a question? Okay, yeah, you can go ahead. Hey, Kathleen, can you grab the microphone for her?
guess I just wanted to update on the summer youth training program. We actually have 28 kids this summer. Some I don't think I still have paperwork for yet. MYCC has ongoing 10 kids for the groups for the second and fourth Thursdays of every month. With our internship, we have Tiny Step Development Center has 2 kids. We have Artsville has 2 kids. We have Stylish Lanice Boutique. She started off with 2. She has 1. The library has an intern there. And My Dream Academy has 1. Because of the way the funds are now and they've extended it, we might be able to see about getting with Daniel and building those boxes if we can figure out what it is we want to do. Because our Saturday work is so far and in between and it's so hot. But we'll work on it.
All right, thank you. All right, so I think at this point, let me just double check if there's anything online. I don't think so. All right, so is there any general body announcement or any members have any announcements they would like to make for the entire body? Yep. Yeah, this is the last thing. We got Ms. Pearson, go ahead.
Again, my name is Angela Pearson. I've been living here all my life and always giving block parties. And I haven't done it in 7 years, so we're getting ready to have one in September on the 3rd on a Saturday. And we're going to open it up to the community on Chandler and Ward Street. So that's what it's going to be, September the 3rd. So hopefully everything work out. We're going to have a horse and buggy ride for the community. We're going to have taste, food, and different things, little small games and stuff for the kids and stuff like that for the community. Start at 7 o'clock. I will post it on Next Door Madisonville.
And then I think we have a hand up online from Ann Boland. Go ahead.
Thanks, Carrie. Alex asked earlier, and others may be curious about the mural on the side of the Fifth Third Bank here in Madisonville. Is Shannon not there, Carrie?
Yeah, she's here.
She's here. Okay, then she's the one that should explain it, not me.
That was in the newsletter, but on June 16th, the third worked with Soul Palette to do a mural on the bank's building. That was something that the bank wanted to do to be able to pay homage to Madisonville and be able to have something that was an expression of the history of Madisonville and its residents. So the bank owns that building, and so we didn't go through Artworks or any other organization. We worked directly with Soul Palette, and we think the mural turned out beautiful. So we definitely encourage all of our residents to go by and take a look at it and be able to read the backstory on the mural. There was a larger celebration event that was held at the summit where we had some other speakers from Fifth Third there, but it was also a way for us to be able to celebrate Soul Palette, which again is the organization that did the mural. So if anybody has any other questions about the mural, they're more than welcome to reach out to me and I'll do my best to answer questions.
All right, thank you. All right, so if that is it, no more comments or questions, I can adjourn this meeting. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you in September.